All right, so this is very interesting. I don't know how I didn't hear about this. Now, I talked to you guys about, and I even gave you sort of a breakdown of how the ThinkSpot website works. ThinkSpot is Jordan Peterson's new platform that he's created that's a Patreon alternative. And so, you guys know what Patreon is, and essentially it's just an alternative to that. And so that was about it. But I remember expressing confusion in the video that I did about Peterson and Rubin, or in the ThinkSpot video, because I was like, wait, but Dave Rubin was talking about releasing his own platform. Are these both, is this the platform, or is he also releasing his own? Because if so, it's interesting that they're having competing platforms, that they're not collaborating, as, we may have suspected them to do. But so this is very interesting, okay? So Dave Rubin has now launched his own platform. It's called Locals. That's what it's called. It's called Locals. Now, if you recall, this is the ThinkSpot, subscription options. David Pakman is in there, which is very sort of shocking, but turns out there's some to that story, and so we will jump into that in a second. But, Mikhaila Peterson is there. Jordan Peterson is there with the hefty $120 a year. So, there is this interview that was done with Dave Rubin, okay, with Fox News, okay? So, what's really interesting about this platform, okay, is that what he's trying to do with this is he just wants to get rid of trolls. Because trolls have caused him a lot of problems, and so he's attempting to get rid of the trolls. You guys remember the video that I did on Rubin Select? Sounds like a Subway shop, a sub sandwich spot, but it's not actually that. It's a little platform that he made that was basically the safe space. It was paywalled, and it was his goal to remove the trolls. That's ultimately what the goal of this is, and he's masking it by talking about all of this other stuff. Now, he says, quote, "We all know that there's a major problem with the internet right now. We're all subjected to the arbitrary, confusing, often conflating, and intentionally designed to be obfuscating rules that big tech has set forth. We know there's shadow banning. We know there's algorithm manipulation. We know about all these ways that the information that we get is being manipulated, and nobody's really doing anything about it. Me as a liberty-minded person, the last thing I want to do is hand more power to the government. And the last thing I would want to do after that would be to hand big tech power to the government. If you've been on a government website lately, these people should not be in charge of anything technological. We have a top-down problem with the internet right now, where we have these giant tech behemoths telling us all how to behave and managing how we can communicate." A very odd photo here of Dave. So it says, Rubin co-founded Locals, which launched this week and bills itself as a collection of subscription-based communities that, quote, give power to creators, not platforms. He was sick of technology giants suspending, banning, and censoring people based on political ideology. That's not it, by the way. I'm not talking about radical, evil positions, but sometimes very mainstream conservative positions. What I want to do with Locals is create a bottom-up solution to this. I want the power to be in the hands of the creators. Rubin's Locals platform allows content creators to curate who has access to video, audio, photos, and messages. Community leaders set the specific rules that followers must adhere to in each Locals community. Quote, if someone's not behaving by those rules, they're not being deplatformed if you don't want them in your community, but it's your community. It's not a platform in a traditional sense. If somebody comes into my community, I'm having a very open policy related to speech. But if you're just there to troll and cause chaos, like everyone's doing everywhere else, I'm not going to let you into my Locals. This right here is exactly the reason for this platform. This platform has nothing whatsoever to do with these big tech giants and all this censorship against the right wing and, my free speech and all this other stuff. It has nothing to do with any of that. Trust me, folks. It's got nothing to do with literally any of that, okay? Literally nothing whatsoever. What this has to do with is him trying to curate and create this paywall safe space to get rid of trolls. That's what he's trying to do. And so this isn't even really much of like a, free speech platform in terms of people who are the viewers, because if you're trolling or you're saying something that they disagree with, you could be banned. So that's really what's going on here. It goes on. It says he said the person would still be free to join other communities on Locals despite being shunned by his private group. Quote, the same way that I'm for free speech, but I'm not for free speech of inviting everyone into my house at all times to say whatever they want. What I'm trying to do is create a more mature, decent internet. Very weird stuff, folks. Rubin said the internet was originally intended to be a positive environment, but has been taken over by trolls and bots. Locals allows content creators to charge followers a small fee for followers, allowing content creators to be compensated for their work. By doing something that is subscription-based, people can join my Locals for as little as $3. It will be up to creators to decide what amount they want to charge. I think that for as little as $3, you're going to get rid of 99% of the trolls. They don't want to pay you to troll you, and if they do want to pay to troll you, at least you're getting a little something from it. I think we can solve so many of the problems by creating small gated communities and then figuring out how these communities can link together to create bigger communities. So again, this all is just some weird sort of big community hubbub type thing that he's trying to form here. Again, some really, really odd stuff going on here, because this is just Patreon. That's what this is. Okay, this is just Patreon. But what it sounds like he's trying to do with his platform is it sounds like he's trying to create like another YouTube. But really, it's just a Patreon ripoff, essentially. So that's kind of what's weird with this. Locals officially launched on Wednesday with Rubin's own community, and he said some big names are set to join the platform in the near future. Locals work with content creators to meet specific objectives, and the company promises not to sell data or use vague algorithms to determine what followers have access to. Yeah, I would not trust that if I were you folks. People saw that I did something brave, and I actually took a stand. We have a real bravery deficit in the country right now, and I think people appreciate when you do something worthwhile, when you do something good. So I guess I have to admit it's pretty surprising that he was down to ditch his 30 grand a month on Patreon. Now, granted, he was making a bunch on his membership, so he probably had a lot of that compensated, most likely. But that's his new platform. Like, how successful this is going to be, this is just a Patreon page. That's it. This is just a Patreon ripoff. So what I most likely see happening is there's probably going to be, it'll most likely fail or just not do well, or it's going to end up having a bunch of like crazy right-wingers, and you know the figures that I'm talking about, right? The ones who were banned from the other platforms. Those are the ones that we're talking about here. So if that happens, then they're going to be in trouble because there's going to be a lot of controversy and a lot of pressure, etc., etc. And I'm not sure how Rave is going to feel about this. It's going to be inundated with some trolls, I think, which will be pretty hilarious considering that the entire goal of this platform is to sort of rid the trolls, essentially. But how well this is going to do, I really don't think it's going to do much. I mean, the splash itself of the website was so under the radar, I didn't even catch it, right? I didn't even catch, that it launched. But it's literally just a Patreon alternative, so it doesn't have much of a ceiling. Especially when you have Jordan Peterson's ThinkSpot, which is another alternative, right? So I just had seen this coming from David Pakman. He was responding to this tweet sent out by Nathan Bernard that had this right here, which shows David Pakman as one of the creators as options for Jordan Peterson's ThinkSpot. I made a video on it, like, yo, why did you join? Like, what is going on here? Like, could you at least give us an explanation? What is the reason for you joining? You not saying anything about it even makes it even, look even worse. You know what I'm saying? So, he says, my content is no longer available on that platform, and I was told that all references to me have been removed. Nathan says, I see. Why were you on there in the first place? He says, too long a story for Twitter, but video upcoming. We'll be interested to see that, and I'd assume any money you got from the site you returned. He said, I didn't get any money. So, we're going to hear out his story. Now, he sent out this tweet on December 6th. Now, I'm recording this on Sunday, December 8th. This will most likely go up on the 9th. So I'm assuming he's going to drop the video on the 9th as well, because he doesn't do a show on weekends, obviously, because he has weekends off. He takes weekends off from work. But, I'm curious to see what his story is going to be, what his explanation for this is going to be, because I'm still certainly befuddled as to why the man chose to join Jordan Peterson's ThinkSpot platform. Just weird stuff. But, is David going to join Dave Rubin's platform? I don't know. We're just going to have to wait to find out. Now, let me know what your thoughts are on Dave Rubin's new Locals platform. I'm certainly not going to be joining it. I don't think it has much of a ceiling for anything because it's a Patreon alternative to which an even bigger figure, that being Jordan Peterson, has already created one. So I'm surprised they didn't collaborate together on that because they're good buddies. They both know how to make some good racks. But anyways, let me know your thoughts on this down below. I'm very curious to hear them.